You know, one of the things that just keeps sticking with me about Astroneer, even after, tons of hours I've put into it, it's this feeling of like, what's next? You've done it all right. You've gone to all 7 planets, built these crazy bases, and you've activated the final gateway. But then, well, it kind of feels like the adventure's over. And that's the problem this fan-made document we're looking at today really tries to solve. With a pretty cool idea, I gotta say. They call it the 8th planet.
Yeah. And what I find really interesting about this document
Mhm.
is that it goes beyond just like adding more stuff, right? More planets or whatever.
Mhm.
It kind of digs into what makes players tick, that feeling of wanting to do things, achieve goals. And Astroneer definitely has that, at least for a while.
Mhm.
But after you've done everything, the game can feel kind of aimless.
Yeah, for sure. You go from this, exciting rush of researching new tech and building these huge resource networks to just, I don't know, kind of just existing.
Exactly. The document calls it the heat death of Astroneer. You've got every resource, build every crazy contraption you can think of,
And the planets are just sitting there.
like they're begging for something new.
So, okay, here comes the 8th planet. But before we dive into the details, let's set the stage a bit for anyone who might not be super familiar with Astroneer. So the main game. You're going between these 7 planets. Each one has a gateway core, and you got to activate it to get to the next planet. And the ending has you activate this massive gateway above the sun, which is a pretty awesome moment, I gotta say.
Yeah.
But this document suggests that activating that final gateway, well, it triggers something new.
It makes an 8th planet appear, pulled into the solar system by that gateway.
And hold on, it's not just another planet like the others. The author imagines it being different every time you see it. Different terrain, different resources, even unique challenges. It's like this planet is generating its own campaign every time.
And they tie it into the lore, too, which is really clever. The document says that ancient astroneers
Mhm.
use this gateway network to, like, pull planets into their system so they can explore them.
Wow.
And now you can reactivate that system.
That's a great way to explain why there's a new planet just appearing.
Right.
But here's the thing. This 8th planet, it's not meant to be a permanent part of your solar system.
Yeah, think of temporary world.
Mm.
You go there, use up its resources, do whatever challenges it has, and then it's gone.
Gone.
And then a new 8th planet takes its place.
So it's constantly changing.
Exactly.
It's pretty different from the other 7 planets.
It really is.
They're always the same.
Yeah, this 8th planet, you can only get to it by spaceship. It's not connected to the gateway network like the others. And it doesn't have a central gateway core.
So it's like spurring this rogue-like element in
Mm.
this chill base building game.
Yeah, it's an interesting mix. And the author really thought about how to make it work.
Oh, yeah, they did. And that brings us to the reset bombs.
Yeah.
Now, this is where things get really interesting. I mean, really interesting.
Yeah, these reset bombs, they're a fascinating idea. So the document says you find them in the core of each 8th planet. And once you get one back to your base and research it, you can use it to, like, reshape the other planets, change the terrain, the resources.
It's not just like a visual thing either. Like, say you completely mined out an area on Silva, your starting planet. You could use a reset bomb and boom, resources are back. The landscape might even be totally different. Makes you want to go back to those planets and start mining again.
It's actually really smart. It solves this problem that a lot of these big crafting games have, where your save file gets huge because you have so much stuff.
Save file bloat, yeah.
Exactly. And it can make the game run slower. But with the reset bombs, you can basically refresh the old planets, keep things running smoothly.
And you get to experience that early game feeling of discovery all over again.
Right.
And who knows what you might find after a reset. The document says there could be rare resources or even weird anomalies that weren't there before.
Yeah, it gives you a reason to keep exploring, even after you've, mastered the game.
Okay, so we've got these constantly changing 8 planets, and we can reshape the original 7 planets with reset bombs. What else does this document talk about?
Well, it talks a lot about how. The 8th planet is designed to make you actually use all those resources and tech you've been hoarding.
You mean like that feeling of, okay, I have all this stuff, now what?
Exactly.
It's not just about collecting anymore. You need to use it to survive on this new planet.
Right.
And to complete the quests.
Yeah, the quests. That's the big thing with the 8th planet. Each one would have its own set of quests, like a mini campaign.
Oh, that's cool. So what kind of quests are we talking about?
They give some examples like maybe you have to move something really big across some rough terrain, and you'd have to use all those vehicles you researched.
Oh, I can see that.
Or maybe you have to clean up some wreckage from some event. Use your shredder to salvage materials.
Okay.
They even talk about investigating weird signals.
Really?
Yeah, using your terrain scanner and stuff.
So it's not just about mining and crafting.
Nope. It's about using what you know about the game to solve problems.
I like that.
And there's even a humanitarian angle, like rescuing other Astroneer.
Wait, other Astroneers?
Yeah, like imagine landing on this new planet
Yeah.
and finding someone else's base,
Whoa.
but it's abandoned. And there's the distress signal.
That would be awesome.
Adds a whole other layer to the game.
Yeah, it's not just you against the environment anymore. There's a story there.
Exactly.
And the document says there are rewards for completing quests.
Oh, yeah, lots of rewards.
So what, like resources and stuff?
Sure, resources, new tech,
Yeah.
but also things like lore entries.
Lore entry.
Yeah, like little pieces of the story.
Oh, that would be so cool. Like finding out more about those ancient Astroneers, the ones who built the Gateway Network.
Right. And they even suggest things like glimpses into other players' experiences.
What does that mean?
Like, what if you completed a quest and you got a message or a photo left behind by another player who did that same quest on a different 8th planet?
That's a really cool idea. It's like, it's not really multiplayer, but you still feel connected to other players.
Exactly.
Like you're all part of this group of explorers.
It adds a sense of history to these planets, even though they're temporary.
Okay, so we've got exploration, quests, rewards. Anything else?
Well, the document also talks about these malfunctioning von Neumann probes.
What are those?
They're like these robots that have gone haywire.
Oh.
And they're not really enemies, more like hazards.
So you have to avoid them.
Or disable them.
Using your tools.
Yeah.
That sounds kind of dangerous.
It adds a bit more action to the game.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change the overall vibe too much.
I guess that makes sense. So, okay, this 8th planet idea, it's pretty ambitious.
It is.
Do you think it could actually be done? Like, could they actually add this to Astroneer?
The document says it's possible. It's not a complete redesign of the game, more like an expansion.
But it still sounds really complicated.
It would be a lot of work, especially the procedural generation, making sure each 8th planet is different and interesting.
Yeah.
And the quests, too. They'd have to be well-designed, not just feel like busy work.
Right. But the author seems pretty determined.
Oh, yeah. They even talk about starting a Patreon to help fund the development.
That's pretty impressive.
That shows how much they believe in this idea.
And it makes you wonder, what other games could do something like this?
Yeah.
Could temporary worlds become the next big thing in gaming?
It's an interesting thought. Instead of reaching the end of a game, you just keep exploring and starting over in new worlds.
It's a whole new way to think about games.
It is.
And it all started with this fan-made document.
Pretty amazing, right?
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the smaller details, the quality of life stuff. Because even if they don't add the 8th planet, these would still be great additions to the game.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It really changes how you think about, like, getting better in a game, you know?
Yeah.
Instead of always trying to get more stuff and build bigger bases. This is like starting over, facing new challenges.
Yeah. And what's cool is it's good for different types of players.
What do you mean?
Like some players,
Yeah.
they'll want to figure out the best way to play each 8th planet, get as much out of it as they can before it's gone.
Right. Yeah.
But others, they might just want to explore, see everything the planet has to offer.
Like uncovering all the little secrets.
Exactly.
And figuring out the lore.
Yeah, it's like multiple games in one.
Oh, and don't forget those quality of life changes they mention. Even if they don't do the 8th planet thing, those would still be awesome.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like that inventory purge command. Genius.
You mean just like getting rid of stuff in your backpack?
Yeah, or specific slots.
Yeah.
Especially late game, when you have so much stuff.
It would make going back and forth to the 8th planet so much easier.
Right.
You wouldn't have to spend all your time sorting through your inventory. You could just focus on exploring and doing quests.
And being able to hide text in the research screen.
Oh, yeah. That menu can get so cluttered.
It would make finding what you need so much easier.
And it would help with the 3D printers, too.
Totally. You could just see the recipes you actually use.
Okay, but let's be real. This is a lot of stuff.
It is.
How would they even pay for all this? The 8th planet, the quality of life stuff.
Well, the document mentions Patreon.
Patreon.
Yeah, like players could support the game directly.
And get stuff in return?
Yeah, like exclusive content.
Yeah.
Or early access to new features. Maybe even vote on future updates.
I see.
It would create a really strong connection between the developers and the players.
Yeah, like everyone's working together.
To make the game better.
It's a really cool idea.
It is.
But at the end of the day, this whole eighth planet thing, it's about that feeling of wonder.
Yeah, like discovering something new
Landing on a planet that no one has ever seen before.
and knowing that anything could be out there.
It's about bringing back that feeling that you get at the beginning of a game.
When everything is fresh and exciting.
Yeah, before you've explored everything.
The author of this document, they really captured that feeling.
They did. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a question. Could this work in other games? These temporary worlds? With unique challenges and player-created content, would you be into that? The idea of constantly starting over in new and unknown places.
It's definitely something to think about.
It is.
It makes you realize that there are so many possibilities in game design.
Yeah. And that the future of gaming is going to be pretty amazing.
I can't wait to see what they come up with next.
Me neither.